Hey, so I want to tell you a little story. How you can tell by the title, it's gonna be an intense story, but yeah. I just found myself in my room, talking to myself right now, remembering that time that I had to do CPR on my dad. And then I thought to myself, bro, this is something nobody's gonna ever understand. The trauma that such an experience brings. I just started crying, tearing up. But I thought, hey, I'll share it. If you don't, if this is too harsh for you, then you can, fine, don't watch it. But if you're interested in hearing this story, I'll tell you. Because maybe some people can relate, or some people want to learn about what it's like. So, this story goes back to when I was 9, because that's when my dad had a stroke. And that's where his life and also my life changed as a consequence dramatically. Because after that, he wasn't really like my dad. He was my dad, but he wasn't really my dad. Like, he wasn't the same person as before. Because he couldn't work anymore. He lost all his ambitions. He totally gave himself up. He was only sitting on the couch, and this was also, admittedly, it was a gradual process. It didn't immediately happen, but it slowly but surely, it got worse and worse. And to the point where he peed himself, he shit himself, he had to wear diapers, he was crawling on the floor because he couldn't really walk anymore at some point. And it was really, he was peeing in the sink and everything, because it was hard to sit down and get up at some point. But this took place over years, and it was a very slow process. It wasn't like you were like, oh wow, what the fuck is going on? Because it was slow. In the beginning he could talk and he could walk and do everything still. But anyways, so I became kind of like his caretaker in some sense. I had to take care of him, changing diapers and stuff like that. Even though I was young, I didn't want to do that. I think I didn't spend much time with him. I think when I got home from school, I went to the computer. I kind of shut that off. And to this day, I struggle to have memories of that time. I struggle to have memories of the time before he had the stroke. It's kind of a blackout for me. Certain memories are there, but it's tough. So this process happens gradually, and then, at some point, I also have to make food and stuff like that. And one day, I don't know what day it was. I have no idea what kind of weekday it was or anything. My memory is very foggy. But one day, I make food for him, right? Or for us. I don't remember. And I made pancakes, and I cut them into smaller pieces so it's, easier to eat. And he chokes. A piece of pancake or something gets stuck in his throat. He can't breathe. He chokes. And at the time, I don't know how old I was, but I was in my teens, probably. As I said, he had the stroke when I was 9, and some years later, this happened. And I don't know when exactly. Anyways, I'm gonna go into detail in this. So if this is too tough for you, then just don't watch this. So he starts choking, right? And I have no fucking idea what to do, right? I'm just like I'm there. I'm watching this. I'm like I have no fucking idea what to do, right? I'm like a teenager. I don't know what the fuck to do. So because he keeps joking, and at some point he passes out. He's gone, right? He's just passed out, and I don't know what time span it took. I don't know. I don't even know what happened. What of the things that I'm going to tell you in a second happened in what order. But at some point, I called the ambulance, right? When exactly, I don't know in what order, but I called the ambulance, and then at some point also he came back, so he was choking, didn't get air. Then at some point he passed out and was laying there, and then at some point, I think probably after I called the ambulance, anyways, he comes back. Like he choked, he passed out, and then at some point he comes back, and I will never forget that face. His face was completely blue. Entirely blue. Fucking blue. I'm talking blue. Like, and this is where I started crying before. His face completely blue, and he's like absolutely tensed up. Like his whole facial muscles like tense, like and I'm pretty sure I remember him looking at me. So he came back somehow, his face blue, totally tensed up, and he looks at me, right? With this totally a look of absolute, loss of control, hopelessness, like he's fucked, right? He's dying. But he comes back and he's somewhat conscious in that moment, and he's just looking at me like this could be his last moments that he's perceiving, right? And he's looking at me like I'm the only person there. I'm the only one who can help him. And he looked, now I'm in his perspective, right? But he was looking at me, and the face was absolute desperation, while being totally, absolutely blue and tense and like just barely, like I don't even know how to describe it. It's unreal. And yeah, like absolute. That was his last straw. That was the last. He was not gonna come back from that. That was the last moment that he was gonna come back. And he did pass out again after that, right? Now, gladly, the story does not end there. Okay, that would be a sad story. So, but by the title, you know what's gonna happen. So, then at some point, but that was like the that was the most traumatizing moment for me when he I mean the whole thing was traumatizing, but when he like was passed out and then he came back with that totally blue face, totally cramped up, and just looking at me intensely, like I'm his last hope, like please, I need you, help me. So, he had no control. He was like on his last breath, literally. I mean, I can laugh about this. I can, because it's been long ago. I've kept this moment in my mind many times, and at this point, I'm not. It's been years ago. I can laugh, but I also cry when I reflect on it. Anyways, so that moment, it will always be in my fucking mind because that was unreal. So after that, he passes out again at some point, and at some point I have the intuition, I have the brilliant idea. Hey, I gotta do CPR, right? And I start doing CPR, and I'm pumping his chest. He was laying on the couch, like pretty much upright like this. Maybe his head was probably backwards, but I was pumping. I didn't lay him on the ground. I had no time. I was just pumping him like against the couch, pumping his chest, and that didn't seem to do much. But I just kept doing it. And then of course you gotta do the mouth to mouth. I did that, and as soon as I did the first mouth to mouth, boom, I do I I do the mouth. You gotta get in there like. I did that, and of course something was stuck in here, and that immediately came shooting out, and he was immediately back, like I don't know how it works. I'm not a biologist or anatomy, or don't ask me, but as I remember it, he was immediately back. This comes shooting out, a piece of fucking shit that was stuck. It comes shooting out, and I'm like, and he's back. He's alive again. And and then at some point, uh, the ambulance arrives, but he was already back. I don't think and the doctors in the hospital said also, like, he wasn't he would have been gone if I just waited for the ambulance. Like, I did save his life, and I'm glad I did it. I mean, it's nothing that I feel like bragging about, but it's something that I do feel proud about, that I faced that moment and that I was able to act accordingly and do the right thing in the moment to save my dad. But I'll never forget that. I will never forget that moment, and I will never forget that blue face, because that shit was unreal. Yeah, and that's the story that time when I had to reanimate my dad. And after that, he had to. My mom was like, "Okay, it is enough. He has to go into the nursing home, right?" And I totally understand that. And I was also pushing before that. I was like, he has to go to the nursing home. And that was the moment where my mom was like, "Yeah, okay, this is enough. He gotta go to the nursing home now." And but I had to struggle with that too. Um, that also wasn't easy. I thought it would solve all my problems, right? As soon as my dad is taken care of, and this whole situation is like fucked and blah blah. That was my thoughts even before that happened. But after that happened, it came creeping up on me slowly, like, fuck, my dad is gone. He's not here anymore. Like, he's in the nursing home, but that was like some kilometers away, and we only saw him like on the weekends. And I was also, battling addiction with like cannabis and stuff and tobacco, and I was always high, and I had anxiety and stuff, and I would often not even come on the weekend, right? I love my dad. I loved him till the end, but and I regret not spending more time with him. Very much. I regret that I didn't go many times on the weekends. But we did go many times on the weekends, and uh, over the years we spent a lot of time. He was a fighter like till the end. Um, and now I said he kind of gave up on himself, but he still. I mean, he kind of just lost all control over his body and everything. He wasn't like in a coma or anything, but he did. At some point, he stopped talking because it was too much effort, and he couldn't stand up or walk or anything on his own. You know, uh, and yeah, but that was the point when he got to the nursing home, and last year he died in, I think it was November, so it's pretty fresh. But we kind of saw it coming because he was diagnosed with cancer the year before, and we kind of had a feeling for that, but it was still unfortunate. But we were able to take him back home here for his final days. His final week was it actually? It was 1 week, and he unfortunately died before we could arrange all the relatives to come, and kind of say goodbye. But uh, he did have we could give him the privilege of dying at home, and we made it nice for him, a nice place next to the big window. I don't know what you call it. Wintergarten. It's like a big corner with all windows out into the garden. You can see. We put his bed there, and he was there, and I took care of him, and it was it was the kind of death that I would wish for anyone. That you can die, at home with family taking care of you, and I was very glad that we could arrange that. But yeah, um, it's unfortunate that he didn't last long enough for our family to meet him one more time, like the bigger family. But he died in a good setting, in a good way. It was a good way to go. Yeah, but that's a different topic. Um, I'm gonna end this here. I don't think I can upload 18. Wait, I can upload 18 plus videos. I think because this is more than 18 minutes right now. Anyways, that's the story. It's a tough one. So if you listen through all of this, props to you. You got some big balls. And yeah, I just felt like sharing that because, some people might be able to relate, and it's also therapeutic for myself to talk about this. And maybe, it helps some people understand me the way I am. But yeah, that's the story. And I'm Joe out. And I hope you have a great day. Because in the end, I know it was a depressing story, right? But you gotta brush it off. Don't let this pull you down. Just take it as like an interesting story. That can teach you, for example, that you don't have to be afraid that in the moment, you don't know what to do, because I didn't know what to do. But when it came down to the very moment where it mattered, right? I was totally in panic. I didn't know what to do. He was joking, like, what the fuck? But when it came down to the moment when it really mattered, I intuitively knew what to do. So you can trust in your intuition. You can trust in yourself, in your senses, right? In your intuition, right? Your intuition will not let you down when it will really matter. And that's the message I want to give you. And I hope you have a great day. And yeah, peace out.